Thank you once again, Mr. Viola, for being with us and for taking the time and to share some great impulses with us today. You mentioned the Jülich computer, and you mentioned the need for Germany and for Europe to invest. I would like to briefly follow up with a question. Given that the US and certain Arabic states plans are already underway for AI clusters to be projected 50 to 200 times larger than the planned AI gigafactories with its 100,000 GPUs. Do you think that the European AI gigafactories will reach its goal to a more sustainable, a more independent Europe?
Well, if you allow me an analogy for a second, and I already apologize for the analogy. If you take the airline market, yes, at a certain moment, I mean, actors from the Arabic Peninsula came in because they have the fuel to fuel the aircraft and the capital to buy the aircraft, but they also started to buy massively European technology. Jülich has around an impressive ecosystem of scientists, of companies, of minds that is nowhere else found in the world. And this is counting more than one or the other GPUs. I mean, the race to GPUs is important, but I mean, these GPUs need to be fed by data, which come from, I mean, those that have quality data and clever people that have clever algorithm in mind. I mean, and also we should a little bit have a reality touch of what is already there and what is promised in the future. Jülich with these 26,000 GPUs today, it's a very powerful machine. And there are not so many things like this around the world, as you know. So clearly, and that's the gigafactory, we are already to think about the future. We never said it's 100,000, it's 200,000. I mean, gigafactories are commercial projects. So it is what the market can bear, the investors can bear. We have a kind of limitless ambition. Clearly, there are issues about availability of power. There are issues about sustainability of the investment, but sky has no limit. But already, I mean, because also speed here matters. All of these announcements are announcements. I mean, what is real is what is on the ground, and we have powerful machines on the ground. If we realize the gigafactories, as this is the plan, by next year, starting to build them, I mean, next year, 100,000 GPUs of the latest generation is a big thing, is a very big thing. And then we go on. I mean, I would say waiting to have 1 million GPUs and then saying, then we are part of the race, it's not probably what I would recommend. I think we should be happy of the progress we are making and say always, I agree with you, is not enough, but also be aware of all the other elements we bring in. Quality of companies and industries, quality of talent, quality of the scientific community, and also very good stability of the grid, very good infrastructure, which also make the difference.
Thank you very much. And my next question is about the one thing that you said in your keynote about blending the different strategies from AI to quantum and to chips. And as you know, we have the AI and Data Summit and Quantum Summit here together in Berlin because we see the synergies that those technologies bring. Maybe you can elaborate really quickly and very briefly about the ideas that you have that we might see in the future in blending those strategies together.
Well, thank you for this. This is a fantastic question. I wish I would have 2 hours, I mean, to elaborate on this. But in 1 minute, And so I already apologize for being very superficial in the answer. Take advanced material for energy. So something that would, for instance, store hydrogen or resist a very high temperature for, energy management. You first of all have the beauty of a foundational algorithm that might look at a number of possibilities, but then you can have a specialized quantum computer that mimics this kind of material you want to look at and be an accelerator in calculations, in selections of the right structure. And the same applies for molecules in pharma. So the kind of joining, dedicated, because we are far from the general purpose quantum computer, but dedicated acceleration of certain type of problems through quantum computing, working hand in hand with gigantic AI machines, it makes quite a difference. The other difference, as I was trying to explain, is AI is the best friend of correcting some of the problems of quantum computers. Because computers, work on qubit, lose quickly the coherence. And you need to do the same thing, which is called error correction. And the more you can use very intelligent algorithms to do that, the more you can actually use the best of AI to define well quantum machines, the best you will have from this machine. So that's why I spoke about the marriage in heaven. The same applies to communication. You can have a very traditional communication encryption mechanism. Then you can overlay with post-quantum encryption. But why not? Then for very, very important applications, such as synchronizing the keys of the servers of two important banks, or defense application, quantum key distributions. And then you blend this. There's no one size fits all, and you decide which kind of overlay or technologies make you the most robust encryption system of the world. In sensing, it's very much the same. You have satellite, you have, all sorts of ground sensing, you have, quantum sensors. In specific cases where it's very complicated, for instance, to understand where the water is when you have a problem with the crops, then you might use a quantum sensor and combine it with satellite images, then give it to AI and get a better understanding. So this is the blending that we have in mind.
And as we have some great panelists here with us, I would like to give you the chance to maybe address a question to Mr. Viola, or to make, so to say, a wish to Brussels that you may have on your heart to send to Mr. Viola. Would someone like to?
Then I have a wish. If you mean it really honest, Mr. Viola, to lead from a European perspective, rely on the full value chain. Rely from the processor throughout the complete stack to the final application on European technology, because it's a chicken and egg problem, but it's rather unlikely that the chicken from US is going to produce the best eggs in Europe.
Thank you very much. I hope that you heard the message, and I think Christoph would like to say something as well.
Absolutely. If I might add a wish here as well. We're living in a funny world currently. So collaborationship is difficult. And on the other hand, we need it urgently. And we see how Europe is divided. You know, all this strategy, divide and conquer. Unfortunately, this works perfectly with Europe right now. And we have to change that. And the topic we are discussing might be perhaps a valuable step in the right direction, really not thinking in our national silos, but putting together the resources we still have for a European solution. That might be the right strategy. And for that, I think it's important that Brussels focuses more on Europe, on building Europe itself. We spent perhaps too much time that people from Brussels tried to explain industry how to deal with technology. If that could be left to industry, and politics cares for politics, and building a strong, united Europe, perhaps we enter then a better world again. And we need it desperately.
This is sort of a great closing sentence, but we are not finished yet. No. Mr. Viola, would you like to reply to that statement for your closing words?
Yes, with pleasure and with deep respect of these opinions. I think we all we all tempted to invent stereotypes. The stereotype of the Brussels people that don't listen, to what is around, or the stereotype that we might say is the fault of, the member states or whatever, that don't understand how Europe works. What I tried to say in my address is that with the gigafactories, I think we are concretely showing that we want to change the way we work. I'm not the one that decides whether, an AI data center has a bankable business plan. This will be the market, this will be the investors. I'm happy to see that many world investors are now saying, let's invest in Europe in a data center. Many leading companies are saying, we want to go. I remind you that in the gigafactories, Europe puts, and the member state, 20%. The rest is private capital, 30% maximum private capital. So it's up to them, it's up to the private actors to make the success of this thing. And the good news, I think we should all applaud to this, international investors, companies from Germany, from elsewhere said, yes, we want to dance. Yes, we are interested. Now, of course, now we need to go to the next step. So I honestly think we are trying to reverse this idea that things can go top down and tell industry what needs to be done in AI. We are trying hard. And the same applies to the scientific field. AIDAQ has been designed by the scientists of AIDAQ, by the scientific communities around the supercomputer. It's a machine that works hand in hand with quantum computer to solve concrete problems, not designed by me or any other person that works in the European Commission. We only gave the impulse in terms of supporting these great ideas. And this leads to me to the second point. It would be ridiculous. You didn't hear from me saying, and we will do it alone in the world, and we will do it, because we have all the technologies. I think it's clear that even in a difficult world, like the world we live, there's the need for cooperating with our like-minded partners, or more pragmatically, companies and other companies have to find a way, to cooperate. Of course, there's a limit, which is our security, our integrity of a protection of economic security. But we know that we need cooperation. And once again, I'm very happy. Once we put forward in AI and quantum ideas which are interesting for the business sector, there are many international investors which are not European that said very clearly, here we are, we want to invest in Europe. There are technology providers which are not European, said, here we are happy to invest. And of dependency is bad. Choice is good, but the choice should be, let's work, of course, attracting international capital and international technology providers that work with our best industries and scientists.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and thank you so much for sharing your insights today. I know that you have a very busy schedule today, so I will leave you to it. Thank you very much for being with us, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are now continuing here on the stage with my panelists, and we will dive a bit deeper into the infrastructure investments that we are doing here in Europe. And I know that we heard that capital in Europe is always very critical and a very complex thing. So you are here, Ms. Baer, as the Vice President of the European Investment Bank. Maybe you can tell me and our audience about what the European Investment Bank is doing for infrastructure, for especially AI and quantum in Europe.
Yeah, totally right, and I absolutely can understand also here the remarks from the right side of the panel. Totally right that financing in Europe is still very fragmented when I look to the capital market. The advantage of the European Investment Bank, together with our subsidiary, the European Investment Fund, is that we are a pan-European financial instruments as such, as we are crossing really the whole continent. And I have really the advantage that we, as EIB, can be an enabling innovation bank, as we are not only investing on our own money, but helping especially also European Commission with the European budget to leverage the sums which you there might find in the programs. So for example, the AI Invest program that we help to leverage. How? By combining also with our means, but also especially in crowding in private money. So this is why we speak about the 20 billion which the AI Invest program is foreseeing, which should mobilize 200 billion. We have additionally a Tech EU program, which is not only focusing on AI, but of course also helping AI to progress, which about 70 billion in 3 years we want to invest and mobilize 250 billion additionally. And what we are doing is, of course, also financing AI solutions from the idea up the whole way of startups, scale-ups, big enterprises, up to IPO and beyond, with the respective instruments we can use, whether this is equity shares, whether this is venture capital, venture debt, loans, for also even for trade sales or for research and development. But the advantage is that with the fact that we are going into a project, often this is a signaling effect for crowding in private money. And I mean, this was also mentioned by Mr. Viola, that at the end you will not bring this all by public money. The important is that the case is proved and that it's interesting for private investor. In the same time, we have the advantage that we can really look on the whole value chain. So we are caring for the bigger, for the holistic picture. Yes, AI, but AI needs also an environment. And this is then also bringing up the infrastructure, starting with, for example, the production of energy, the grids we need, then the universities which have to join in partnerships and collaboration, up to the startup ecosystems which we try to envelop together. So at the end, we just need the idea, and then we help with the respective tool we have in the financing box.
In every different branches of the industries that are there, of course. Yes. And let me address one more question that I also asked Mr. Viola. Do you think, because of the current developments that AI and quantum technology has, that we need public and private funding for this? Do you think the 20 billion are enough to be the leaders for these technologies in Europe?
As I already mentioned, it's not the only package you have, but I think just to bring a big pot on the table, which will be leveraged. So there is a multiplier foreseen by 10. We have other programs with 11. Okay, some for infrastructure might not have a multiplier by 8 or 10. But this is then meaning that the sum becomes bigger. The more important is, I think, really now to implement the projects. So the financing you can make available, especially if we, in parallel, it's what we are also doing, in parallel we are deepening the capital market. So we are working a lot of being more interesting for also outside Europe coming in investors by overcoming the fragmentation. And then I think this is really possible. We have 33 trillion on accounts, on bank accounts of private money. This should be invested, and of course we try to help to facilitate by going in, by de-risking projects, by taking the biggest part of the risk so that others can join and come in. And I see so many smart brains, ideas all around Europe that I really hope that we can support as quick as possible to bring them to life.
Perfect, thank you very much. I would like to get the attention to Michael. Q.ANT grabbed a lot of attention as a company this summer, closing one of the largest investment rounds in European deep tech. And you are known for your photonic chips that, like as I know it, compute rather with light than electricity. Can you explain for us, because I'm not a quantum expert, sadly, and our audience might also not know this, what is your company doing in a nutshell, and how can you build a more sovereign Europe?
So for the experts in the room, first of all, this is not a quantum computer. It's an analog photonic computer. And basically, the reason why everything works is light. When we switched from electricity to light, to give you an intuitive picture, light is propagating without the need of energy. Once it's generated, it's just propagating. You don't need to push it against the resistance. So we save a lot of energy by exploiting light here. The other thing is, we all know that light has a wonderful color spectrum, but each of these colors can encode information. So we can heavily parallelize by using light on a chip. And the third dimension is, light is analog. It's a wave. So we don't need to digitalize on complex functions. So when we sum this all together, the processor we build on an individual core is 50 times faster than the GPU counterpart and saves 30x of energy. If we pile this up to a rack system, we have 100x, not percent, 100x more data throughput and save 90x of energy. Now coming to the sovereignty aspect, light chips are not produced on 3 or 4 nanometer node technology. We actually built our own pilot line here in Europe for our chips, and by that we managed to get, for the first time in a few decades, the holistic value chain on the next level of compute entirely out of Europe. That was probably the reason why we have been loved by the investors.
Very good, attracting private and public capital, of course. So we talked about the AI gigafactories and the initiatives from the European Commission. How do you see Q.ANT especially fitting in those different schemes and those different projects like the AI gigafactory and the AI factories? What can Q.ANT contribute, and when will we see it in action?
Well, we started shipping first, so let me explain. We built a pilot line while the European pilot line program was not launched. We shipped first servers to data centers without having the AI gigafactory. It does not mean that these initiatives are wrong, but we do not want to wait, because if we wait, we are second. So what does it mean? What can we contribute? I think it's a necessity that processor companies from Europe like us become a fundamental part of the future AI gigafactories. This was what I mentioned to Mr. Viola. We are delivering new chickens, but the economy or the economic return on invest is going to happen once applications are built on these processors. We are delivering new tools. You create basically you create the applications, and that's the return on invest. And if we manage to get it in the AI gigafactories, the probability rises that the next ChatGPT, whatever it might be, is going to happen in Europe.
So we hope to see you as a supplier for the AI gigafactories in the future.
That's what let's be bold here, that's what we expect.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Christoph, I'm glad you're here. You're the cybersecurity officer of Bosch, and Bosch actively decided not to submit an expression of interest for the AI gigafactories that were just announced and called upon. Can you elaborate what are the reasons that you and your companies maybe had, and what were the hurdles that you were facing?
Absolutely. So I think I gave you the gist already. So it's what we are seeing is that so many companies and countries are now putting huge investments in AI. So we saw yesterday a good presentation which showed the current invests in AI and supercomputing, and gigafactories didn't even fit to the slide. And to match those invests, it were to require a dedicated program for years and years to fight against this competition. And the rather fragmented approach we are seeing currently, and sadly, even in Germany, we couldn't agree on something. It's a bad sign, I would say. So it's a pan-European solution which can match the other efforts, has better prospects of success than what we are currently doing. And so we hesitated investing in that and hesitated in contributing and entering here because we think we are a bit pessimistic about the outcome. Whether Europe now really has the funding. If you see the economic situation, Germany, France, and see what we have to do in terms of Zeitenwende to match this competition. That's the reason, basically.
Okay, thank you very much. That's quite the opposite of the attitude that Viola had, because he was very optimistic, it sounded like.
We need something in Europe, a pan-European approach, but not a fragmented one.
Okay.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah, thank you.
And united.
Thank you very much. If you would, if you could imagine our audience here having a mindset that you would like to set them up on today, would it rather be a positive one or a negative one?
Absolutely positive one. So I liked, for instance, the keynote of Guntram Scherf the first day. The right attitude. So we have chances, but we have to to change our behavior and perhaps to change old misbehavior and break out of old nationalized silos. But we have prospects, there's opportunity, there's reason for being optimistic, but we have to change. This new technology requires a change. You know, perhaps Piaget, assimilation, accommodation, if learning, picking up new things. So we have to change, and then we will be successful.
Yeah. And I'm really sad that we are running out of time, but I would like to give Michael and you, Nicola, the chance to leave a closing comment for our round here.
Let's do it.
I think you have all the right to be very positive about the future.
No, I just couldn't agree more. We prefer not to discuss what should be done. We prefer just to facilitate, to help, to support, to get it done. We have so many potential here all over Europe, and the means are there. So I just would come and do it.
Thank you very much, every one of you, for taking the time for being with us. And I know that Christoph, of course, is here at the summit if you would like to talk to him. And I know that Michael will always stay here for a few minutes, and you have an exclusive round as well. So please feel free to get in touch with our speakers. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'll hand back over to Linda.